I'm Naomi Chin, 34, and I've learned there's a special kind of silence people mistake for peace. It's not peace, it's preparation. The lawyer's office smelled like old leather and expensive wood polish, a stage set for civility while families divide the pieces of their lives. Across the desk, a man in a suit that cost more than my first car shuffled papers like they contained the weather. He adjusted his reading glasses and said my surname with a softness that felt like a warning. So to summarize, Mr. Harrison said, the family home at 847 Maple Drive will be transferred entirely to Michelle Chin. Naomi will retain no ownership stake. Is everyone clear on these terms? My mother's smile flickered, the kind of brittle expression that lives between apology and relief. My father didn't look up. He studied the contract like it contained a hidden exit if he could just find the right clause. Michelle tried not to smile. She failed. Naomi, Mr. Harrison prompted, do you understand what's being proposed? I leaned back, crossed my legs, and let a small, honest smile settle on my face. Not bitter, not brave, prepared. I understand perfectly. My mother exhaled like I'd just spared her a storm. Oh, good. We were worried you'd be upset. Why would I be upset? I asked gently. Dad finally looked over. Because we're giving the house to your sister, the house you grew up in. It's worth about $800,000. I know what it's worth, Dad. Michelle tilted her head, that speculator's gleam she gets when she feels a trap and can't locate it. And you're okay with this? I'm fine with it. Just like that? Just like that. Mr. Harrison cleared his throat, sensing either grace or fuse wire. If there are no objections, we can proceed with signatures. The papers slid across polished wood like a slow avalanche. Mom signed first, her hand trembling at the turn. Dad signed like a foreman finalizing a work order. Michelle signed last, pressing the pen hard as if ownership were an act of force. Then they looked at me. Naomi needs to sign as well, Mr. Harrison said, acknowledging the transfer and waiving future claims. I took the pen, read every clause, every stipulation, every line that translated to you are walking away from $800,000. The number was a weight that didn't crush me. I'd been bracing for months. I signed. Michelle's breath snagged, a tiny gasp that might have been disappointment. That's it? You're just going to sign? What did you expect? I said, setting the pen down. A speech about fairness? A dramatic exit? I expected you to at least ask why, she said. I turned to my parents. Why are you giving the house entirely to Michelle? Dad shifted. Your sister has been through a lot. The divorce, the job. She needs stability. And I don't? Mom leaned in quickly. You have your career, your own place. You're doing well. So this is charity, I said evenly, for Michelle. It's not charity, Michelle snapped. It's family taking care of family. Interesting definition. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. Forget it. I stood. Are we done? Mr. Harrison gathered the papers with professional relief. Yes, we're all set. I shook his hand, nodded at my parents, looked once at my sister, and walked out with the same calm smile that had followed me into the building. In the parking lot, I heard my mother calling my name, shoes clicking fast behind me. Naomi, wait. I turned. Are you sure you're okay? She asked, eyes searching my face the way people search a horizon for clouds. You seem too calm. What do you want me to say, Mom? That I'm devastated? That I feel betrayed? I want you to be honest. I am being honest. I'm fine with it. But the house was supposed to be for both of you. We always said, plans change, I said. I get it. Do you? She asked softly. Because you're acting very strange. I gave her the same small smile. I could sense the way it unnerved her, like a locked drawer in a familiar room. Mom, I promise, I am completely fine with you giving the house to Michelle. She needs it more than I do. You're not angry, not even a little? She hugged me. You're such a good sister. Michelle is lucky to have you. I hugged her back and said nothing. Over her shoulder, through the windshield of their car, I saw Dad and Michelle talking, her hands moving sharply, Dad frowning, confusion etched in his brow. They could feel it too. The space between what they thought they understood and what I was actually saying. I got into my car and let the thick quiet of the cabin fold around me. My phone buzzed. A text from Ethan, my boyfriend. Just a photo of a kettle on our stove, steam curling. You okay? Tea on. My throat tightened. I typed back, be home soon. I'm fine. Then I set the phone face down, because for what came next, tenderness was a liability. Because here's what they didn't know. I'd been expecting this for 6 months. Thanksgiving. The house humming with too much warmth and not enough listening. I'd gone to the kitchen for more wine. Through the dining room arch, the words had slipped under the clatter of plates. "How do we help Michelle without giving her cash she'll burn?" Dad murmured. "What if we gave her the house?" Mom said. "Both kids are supposed to inherit it." "Naomi's doing fine," Dad said. "She won't miss it. Michelle needs something she can't liquidate." Their voices were low, but not low enough. People always underestimate the quiet ones. We're good at absorbing the room, at filing it away. 6 months is a long time to rehearse a smile. By the time they started dropping hints about estate planning to keep things fair, their plan was already older than their guilt. Mine was older than my forgiveness. Back home, I put my keys in the little brass dish by the door, the one Ethan hates because it clinks too loud. I breathed in the smell of our eucalyptus candle, the same scent I lit when I needed to edit spreadsheets for hours without blinking. Rituals for precision. Rituals for patience. I opened my laptop and clicked the folder named Project Karma. Inside, 6 months of research, property records, financial statements, meeting notes, timelines, an LLC filing confirmation with a nondescript name that meant nothing to anyone who didn't know what it meant to me. I scrolled to a document dated 4 months ago, a purchase agreement for a Sterling Plaza unit, 604, the 2-bedroom with the small balcony where my parents had spent the last 2 years, downsizing to keep life simple. They never learned that simplicity without boundaries is just a prettier word for avoidance. I hadn't met the seller. I hadn't needed to. Everything moved through management companies and attorneys with filters on their filters. No names, no direct contact. The lease would expire in 30 days. The new owner, my LLC, would decline to renew. Legally clean. Emotionally surgical. My email pinged. Mr. Chen from the property management company, confirming we'll deliver non-renewal notices to current tenants per statute on the 15th. Tenants, Robert and Linda Chin, please confirm. I typed confirmed. Proceed as planned. Then I hovered over send just long enough to feel the edge of it. Click. I closed the laptop and, from the hallway, heard Ethan moving around. Drawers. The soft thud of a mug on the counter. He appeared in the doorway holding 2 cups. "Chamomile or peppermint?" he asked. "Chamomile," I said, taking the warm ceramic like it could anchor me. He studied me for a beat. "How bad?" "Not bad," I said, and realized I meant it. "Expected." He nodded, the way people do when they love you enough not to pry open your silences with their own need. "I'll be in the living room if you want to talk." "Thank you." When he left, I stood in the quiet and let it stretch until it didn't feel like a threat. I thought about the way Mom said fair, the way Dad said stability, the way Michelle said family. Words that can mean anything when people are decided on their outcomes. My phone lit up again. "Michelle, we should talk about the house. Dinner?" I stared for a second. Michelle hadn't invited me to anything for 3 years unless there was a need dangling from it. "Can't tonight. Work stuff. Rain check." "Thanks for being cool about this," she replied. "I really need this right now." "I know you do. You're the best sister ever." I placed the phone beside the tea and let the steam fog the glass for a second. Then I reopened the laptop and pulled up a spreadsheet titled Eviction Timeline. Notice date, grace period, final compliance. Flawless edges that made me feel calm in a way apologies never had. People think revenge is hot. It isn't. It's a room you keep at a very specific temperature for a very specific amount of time until consequence is ready to be served. I didn't want revenge. Not exactly. I wanted them to understand that choices come with outcomes, that you can't script my role and call it fairness, that you cannot hand my inheritance to my sister and expect me to applaud from the valet stand because I smiled in the conference room. I smiled because I was already 3 steps ahead. And I was very, very calm. Morning found me counting backward from 30 on a sticky note above my desk. T30. The number didn't feel like a countdown to detonation. It felt like a lab timer. Precise heat, measured reaction. I worked. I ran numbers. I sent client emails. I let the rhythm of competence hold me steady, while the other metronome, the one only I could hear, ticked toward the 15th. At lunch, I walked past a cafe window and caught my reflection. Neat ponytail, navy blazer, the same calm I'd worn in Mr. Harrison's office. Calm is just choreography without music. If you know the steps, no one notices the quiet. That evening, after Ethan's shift, we ate simple. Garlic noodles, steamed greens. He talked about a new coworker who alphabetized the tea drawer by vibe rather than tea type. I laughed, real and brief, and loved him for offering ordinary conversation like a soft chair. When he cleared plates, I opened my laptop. The Project Karma folder waited, unblinking. I skimmed the Sterling Plaza reports, letting the numbers do what words can't. Tell the truth without trembling. Unit 604. Lease expiration in 30 days. Owner of record. Sterling Holdings Group, LLC. Registered agent shielded by a law firm that billed in 6-minute increments. All professional, all proper, all distant. The next day, my phone buzzed with a bright, overeager text from Michelle. House painters coming Saturday. Want to swing by? We'll be measuring for furniture. Schedule's tight, I typed. Soon. It's really happening, she wrote. I can't believe this is mine. You and me both, I didn't type. Instead of going to the house, I drove past at dusk, parked half a block down where the elm shadows pooled. Through the front window, new bulbs too bright, like someone convincing themselves, Mom gestured at a wall. Dad frowned thoughtfully at a tape measure. Michelle held up paint swatches and decided out loud. They were arranging my childhood like a stage set where I'd never be cast again. I stayed 10 minutes, then pulled away, the tires making that soft whisper that sounds like permission. I didn't go home. I crossed town to Sterling Plaza and looked up at the 6th floor. There's a language to lit windows. Task lamps mean concentration. Overhead lights mean avoidance. Dim kitchen amber means hunger postponed. Their balcony door was ajar. The tiny ficus Mom had nursed from a twig leaned toward the streetlight. From here, they looked like any pair of retirees who had made reasonable choices. Reasonable, except for the part where reason stops when the heart starts protecting its favorite child. A day later, Mr. Chen called. Ms. Chin, confirming non-renewal notices will be delivered on the 15th per statute. Some tenants may request meetings with ownership. How shall we route those? Refer them to the LLC email, I said. I'll handle inquiries. Very good. I marked the date, April 15th, in my calendar with a quiet thrill, and then immediately felt ugly for feeling it. Revenge is a mirror that never flatters. I closed the calendar and breathed until the feeling softened into resolve. This wasn't punishment. It was proof. Consequences teach what apologies skip. On the 10th, my phone rang. Michelle. Hey, weird question. Have you been driving past the house? Mrs. Patterson said she saw your car. I let a beep pass. I was in the area. What's going on, Naomi? You've been off. That smile, like you know something. I'm just trying to be supportive. It's weird, she said, and the line clicked as if her doubt crackled through it. You're being weird. I made a note in my doc. Appear less, then deleted it. No, I wouldn't edit myself to make theft look prettier. I would, however, keep my footprints light. On the 13th, an email from Mom. We'd like dinner Saturday. We feel like we haven't seen you much. 6 p.m. Romano's, our treat. Saturday. The 15th. I could have said no. I said, see you then. If you've never timed a revelation to dessert, you don't know the art of restraint. The 14th tasted like overbrewed coffee and restraint. I hit my deadlines, paid a utility bill, watered the fern. Ethan texted a photo of a cheese board shaped like a whale, adding, impulse buy. Too much? I wrote back. Ridiculous. Perfect. He sent a heart. I let the warmth of it climb into my chest and sit there like a candle cupped in 2 hands. The morning of the 15th, I ran 5 miles along the river until my breath matched the cadence of Yes, You Can. At noon, I scaled laundry, and at 1, I sat at the dining table with my laptop open but not working. Waiting sometimes is the work. At 1:40 p.m., Mr. Chen texted, all notices delivering now, Unit 604, scheduled at 1:47. At 1:49, he followed, delivered, signed for receipt. I put my phone face down and listened to the apartment. The old wood creaked in the hallway. A neighbor's laugh swelled and thinned. A car door thumped closed down on the street. Somewhere uptown, my mother unfolded a letter she did not expect and felt the ground shift under a life she'd called simple. At 3 my phone rang. Mom. I let it go to voicemail. It rang again. Dad. Again. Mom. The texts stacked. Mom, Naomi, call me. It's important. Dad. Need to talk to you. Mom, please call now. Michelle, Mom's freaking about their apartment. Did you talk to them? Not yet. What's going on? Their lease isn't being renewed. 30 days to move. Mom's panicking. That's terrible. Probably a mistake. I'll call after dinner. Seriously, can you... I didn't answer. It wasn't cruelty, it was containment. If I took their panic into my afternoon, it would flood the room. I needed my edges. By 5 o'clock, I was at Romano's, 15 minutes early. I ordered a beer I wouldn't finish and a bowl of olives nobody ever finishes. At 5:45, Dad's SUV pulled in. Mom's eyes were red even from the curb. They slid into the booth like people who had rehearsed their composure in the parking lot and failed. "Did you get our messages?" Mom blurted. "I did," I said. "My phone was off. Work thing. What's going on?" She pushed a folded notice across the table with the suspicious reverence people give to papers that can ruin them. "We were evicted." "Technically," Dad said, jaw tight, "not renewed. The owner declined. We have 30 days. I studied the letter like it was new to me. "Can they do that?" "Apparently," he said. "Our lease is expiring. It's legal." "Have you tried talking to them?" "It's an LLC," Mom said. "Sterling Holdings. No phone number, just an email. I wrote. No answer yet." "That's really stressful," I said, and meant it. Stress doesn't need to be innocent to be real. We ordered because the waiter hovered, and the world rudely insists on continuing. The plates landed with the theater of competence. White china, sprig of parsley. None of it could organize the air. Mom's phone rang. Michelle. She answered with relief so palpable the waiter glanced over. "Yes, honey, we're with Naomi." "Yes, it's true. Are you sure?" "That's okay. Thank you." She hung up, already crying with gratitude. "Michelle says we can stay with her, in the basement, as long as we need." "That's great," I said, letting the words sit between us like a bridge. "See, it's going to be okay." Dad studied me over the rim of his water glass. "You're taking this very calmly." "Taking what?" "Your parents being forced to move," he said, not liking the word forced, but having chosen it anyway. "I'm upset for you," I said, "but if Michelle's taking you in, you'll be okay." He nodded, unconvinced. Mom squeezed my hand across the table. "We're sorry about the house," she whispered, as if one apology could cover two separate storms. "We should have talked to you more." "It's fine," I said. "Is it?" she asked softly. "Because you've been different since the lawyer's office." "I'm exactly the same," I said, smiling gently. "You're just noticing it now." We ate, chewing as punctuation, silence as grammar. They talked about storage units and movers and paint colors. Michelle didn't mind if boxes scuffed. I nodded, said the right things, made sympathy a practice rather than a performance. Inside, the metronome ticked its measured satisfaction. They had a roof for now, but at a price. The house gifted to save my sister would cost her the one thing she guards worse than money: her space. Basements are where families put what they can't face yet. Basements flood. After dinner, in the parking lot, Mom hugged me again. "You're such a good sister," she said, warbling on the word good like it could erase ink. "Thank you for being calm." Of course, I thought, as I watched them drive away toward a house not yet theirs and a basement not yet crowded. People always thank the flood for not arriving today. They never ask where the river has been building. Back home, I placed my keys in the brass dish and leaned my forehead against the cool door for a second. Ethan looked up from the couch, the ridiculous whale-shaped board now holding crackers like it had always been useful. "How'd it go?" he asked. "Expected," I said, toeing off my shoes. "Hungry?" "Starving." He paused, reading the rest of me. "Are we okay?" "We're okay," I said, and sat beside him, letting my body remember what safety feels like. Someone who won't make a claim on you simply because you're steady. Later, when he fell asleep, I stood in the doorway and watched the slow rise and fall of his breath. Revenge is hot for some people. For me, it was a low, even flame under a pot that wasn't going to boil over. Tonight proved the heat was working. The timer ticked down another day. The week after dinner unfolded like a sequence I'd already memorized. Michelle texted updates about basement renovations and trying to make space cozy. Mom sent photos of labeled boxes and wrote captions like, "Making progress," with exclamation points that looked like smoke signals. Dad forwarded listings for senior apartments just to compare prices, which meant he was already panicking. Then, on the 10th morning, Michelle called. Her voice was tight, clipped at the edges. "Naomi, we need to talk." "What's going on?" "Mom says you've been driving past the house again." I sighed. I was nearby for work. "Don't do that. It freaks people out. And..." She paused. "You've been really quiet lately. That smile, you know the one. It's starting to scare Mom." "Then maybe she should stop looking for storms that aren't coming." Except one already hit, Michelle snapped. And now I have two parents living in my basement arguing about shelf space. Do you know what that's like? No, I said lightly, but I imagine it's character building. She exhaled hard through her nose. You think this is funny? No, I said. I think it's inevitable. She hung up. 2 days later, Dad called. Naomi, your mother's exhausted. Michelle's upset. You need to help fix this. Fix what? This situation. She's overwhelmed. The least you can do is offer some support. Dad, I said evenly, I supported you by not objecting when you gave my half of the house away. Don't start that. You started it when you signed the papers. Naomi, I'm not the one who needs to fix anything, I said. You made choices. Live with them. You've become cold. I've become consistent. He hung up, and the silence after felt both heavy and perfect. Week 2 turned into week 3. Mom's texts thinned out. Michelle's patience thinned faster. One evening, Ethan asked, You ever plan to tell them? Tell them what? That you own the building. I looked at him, the way you look at someone who's holding a truth you'd rather keep folded. Eventually. He hesitated. You're sure this isn't about revenge? It's about cause and effect, I said. They created imbalance. I created gravity. He didn't argue. He just touched my hand and said, Be careful you don't drown, proving you can swim. April 20th, 5 days after the eviction notice. Mom called, voice cracking like glass. Your father and I had a fight with Michelle. She says we need to find our own place by next month. That's reasonable. But we haven't found anything. Everything's too expensive. Then expand your budget. We can't. We gave Michelle so much for closing costs. You gave her money for the house you already gifted her, I said quietly. Don't sound so judgmental, Naomi. I'm not. I'm just good with math. When did you become so cruel? When generosity stopped including me. She started crying again. Could you at least talk to your sister? This is between you and her. Naomi. I have to go, Mom. When I hung up, I stared at the phone until my reflection blurred. My fingers were shaking. Not from guilt, but from the thin edge of satisfaction that scared even me. The next day, a new text from Michelle. Family meeting. Tomorrow, noon. Don't be late. I almost smiled. Perfect. Saturday, noon. When I arrived, the front door was already open. Michelle stood in the entryway, arms folded. They're in the living room, she said flatly. Brace yourself. Mom sat on the couch, eyes swollen. Dad's arms were crossed tight. I stayed standing. What's this about? Michelle gestured at the coffee table, where a laptop sat open. I called the property management company for Sterling Plaza, asked who owned the building. They said Sterling Holdings Group, LLC. My stomach went cold, but my face didn't move. So, she continued, I looked it up. Public records. You want to guess who registered that LLC? Silence pressed in, thick and sharp. Naomi Lynn Chin, she said finally. Mom's hand flew to her mouth. Dad's jaw clenched. Is that true? Mom whispered. I met their eyes. Yes, it's true. The air left the room like someone had cracked a window in winter. You bought our building, Dad said. You evicted us. Yes. Mom's voice rose to a wail. How could you do this to us? Legally, I said, through a property sale. Don't play games, Michelle shot back. You planned this. Of course I did, I said quietly. For 6 months. Since Thanksgiving, when I overheard the 3 of you deciding to give Michelle the house. Mom gasped. You knew that whole time? I knew, I said, and I prepared. By ruining our lives? Dad's voice cracked between rage and disbelief. I didn't ruin them. I just introduced you to consequences. This is revenge, Michelle snapped. No, I said. Revenge is emotional. This was administrative. Don't twist words, Dad barked. You hurt your own family. I met his stare. And you didn't? He stepped closer, his face red. You're not the daughter I raised. No, I said softly. You raised the daughter who learned strategy from watching you. Mom's sob turned brittle. We only wanted to help Michelle. She needed it. And I didn't? You have your own place. And now, I said, so do you. Michelle slammed her hand against the table. What do you want, Naomi? For us to beg? I want you to understand that fairness isn't a feeling. It's a math problem. You're insane, she whispered. Maybe, but I'm also right. Take the house, she blurted suddenly. I can't do this anymore. You win. Take it. I blinked. What? This house was supposed to save me, she said, voice shaking. Instead, it's killing me. Mom rearranges my kitchen. Dad wakes up at dawn to hammer things in the garage. They treat me like a child. I can't breathe. Take the house. I don't want it, I said. Then what do you want? She asked again, almost pleading. Good question. I'd built this plan on precision, on outcomes, on the cold satisfaction of being 3 steps ahead. But standing there, I felt it, hollowness, clean and echoing. I want you to understand what it feels like, I said, to be the one left out. Mom looked up, tears streaking her face. We do now. Do you? I asked. Because understanding doesn't restore trust. It just marks where it broke. I started toward the door. Dad's voice stopped me. That's it? You blow up our lives and just walk away? That's what you did to me in the lawyer's office, I said. Now you know how that feels. Naomi, Mom whispered. We love you. I know, I said, turning back. But love isn't enough when it only applies to one child. Don't say that, Michelle said weakly. It's true, and until you face it, we have nothing left to talk about. I opened the door and stepped out into sunlight that felt too clean for what I'd done. That night, I sat in bed beside Ethan, who watched me, the way people watch a storm that might or might not hit their street. How bad? He asked. Total collapse. He nodded slowly. And you? Still standing, I said, but I don't know why. He reached for my hand. Because you're human. I didn't answer. I wasn't sure I wanted to be. 2 weeks passed before the silence cracked. When the phone finally rang, I didn't expect it to be Michelle. Her voice sounded smaller, quieter, like someone speaking from underwater. I'm selling the house, she said. I sat up. What? I can't do it anymore. The mortgage, the maintenance, Mom crying, Dad sulking, the tension. It's too much. They're moving out next month. Where will they go? They found a small apartment downtown, cheap but decent. I swallowed the strange mixture of relief and guilt that rose like carbonated water. That's good. Good? She said, the word fragile. You really think any of this is good? No, I said softly, but maybe it's necessary. She didn't argue. I don't even recognize us anymore. Maybe now we get to build something new, I said. Something honest. There was a long pause, then the line went dead. That evening, I opened my laptop and found the email thread with Mr. Chen. I typed, Please contact Robert and Linda Chin. Offer them Unit 604 under the same lease terms as before. N. Chin. My finger hovered over send longer than it should have. Then I clicked. The message left like a confession whispered into a clean room. Mom called the next day. I almost didn't answer. Naomi, she said, voice trembling. The property company called. They're offering us our apartment back. Was this you? Yes. She was silent for a long moment. Why? Because I proved my point, I said. And because you're my parents, that still means something. Does this mean you forgive us? I hesitated. I don't know yet, but it means I'm not going to keep punishing you. Can we try again to be a family? Maybe, I said, but it'll have to be different this time. How different? 50-50, in everything. No more Michelle needs it more, no more decisions made in whispers. We split evenly, always. She exhaled, shaky but relieved. We can do that. Then maybe we can try. 6 months later, I was back at Sterling Plaza, knocking on the same door my parents once thought belonged to a stranger. Inside, it smelled of pot roast and rosemary, comforts reborn. Come in, Dad said. He looked older, smaller, but calmer. Mom hugged me, like someone who'd learned to ask first. We made your favorite, she said, smiling carefully. Michelle was there too, hair shorter, circles gone from under her eyes. She'd sold the house, moved into a small apartment she could actually afford. Her laugh came easier now. Dinner was simple. Pot roast, mashed potatoes, laughter that didn't need to defend itself. No one mentioned the house or the eviction. No one said the word inheritance. But something had shifted. Dad stopped himself before giving me advice twice. Mom asked before making plans. Michelle looked at me directly when she needed help instead of going through them. We weren't the same family. That version had dissolved in polished wood and legal ink. But maybe this version, the smaller, humbler one, had a chance. After dinner, I stepped out onto the balcony. The city hummed below, steady and unconcerned. Ethan leaned against the railing beside me, his hand brushing mine. Feels better, he said. It does, I admitted. Worth it? I thought about the lawyer's office, the smell of leather and wood polish, the 6 months of planning, the cold satisfaction that had once felt like control. I don't know if revenge is ever worth it, I said, but truth is. He nodded. So what now? Now, I said. I stopped smiling that smile. In the reflection on the glass, I saw all of them. Mom, Dad, Michelle, talking softly inside, moving like people who'd learned that comfort doesn't come from having more, but from finally being fair. Maybe revenge doesn't fix anything, but it does reveal everyone's truth, including your own. And sometimes that's enough.